This is the People's Breakfast. And we'd like to discuss, because it's been on the minds of people for the last couple of days, and that is the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter. In studio, we are with someone who is part of a team that is forming the next chapter. I'm talking about none other than the party leader of the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, DAP-K, Mheshimiwa Eugene Wamalwa. Mheshimiwa, welcome to Radio Generation.
Thank you very much.
It's actually a pleasure to have you here with us.
Yes.
Mimi nakonanga kwa TV, so for a second I was actually starstruck.
Yes.
And it's glad we're here talking about issues that will actually move this country forward. There's a question I've been asking people for the last couple of days, and it's in regards to the death of Baba. When you got the information that Baba had passed on, where were you and how did you get it? Did you read it in the papers? Was it a tweet? Did someone call you about it?
I think it started about a day before, and social media had this thing going, and I think we had someone like Maverick and others talking about it. But the next day in the morning, we started getting tidbits about what was happening.
Right.
That Mzee was not well, and eventually the president made the announcement. It was heartbreaking to finally get the information that Mzee had left us. And we have been, part of the mourning, the 7-day mourning period. We went to Parliament as the opposition. We came together and went there as a team to pay our respects at Parliament. From Parliament, we went to Nyayo Stadium for the Requiem Mass, and after that, we proceeded together again home to Bondo for the burial. But a day before, as neighbors, and Luos and Luyas have very similar traditions, we did our local thing as neighbors of taking bulls the day that the body was being brought home. So for us as neighbors and as family friends, we were there to honor him, to welcome him home. And we did lead quite a big team from across Western. Our governors, we had Governor Otuoma from Busia with a big delegation. We had Governor Fernandez Baraza from Kakamega with a big delegation, Governor Tembea from Trans Nzoia. So we brought together a big team to Bondo to honor our hero. And this is not something new. When my late brother Mike died, Raila did the same. He came with a big team from Nyanza and with many bulls. So we did the same, and eventually joined the nation and the international community during the morning.
Right.
Yes.
Baba was in Azimio, and even when he joined the broad-based government, I'm sure you still had relations with him. How were the relations towards the end?
I think we all trusted Baba, and we all believed in him. And it was not the first time we were working together. We started way back from the days of his father, Jaramogi. My late brother Mike and Jaramogi were very close with James Orengo, and he deputized Jaramogi in Ford, Kenya. They started in Ford, then came to Ford, Kenya, and eventually ended up again working together during the NADCO when they came together with Kibaki, Wamalwa, Raila, and they were able to form government. That was in 2002. Then we separated again when he went to CORD and went to NASA, and the rest of us were with Kibaki in PNU, then Jubilee. But eventually we met again now in 2022 when we formed Azimio. My party, DAP-Kenya, joined other parties, including ODM, NARC, and other parties to now form Azimio. In Azimio, Raila was our party leader and our presidential candidate, and we did campaign for him across. I recall I was leading the campaigns in Western Kenya with Governor Oparanya, and we were able to paint the entire region blue for Baba. We won 6 regions in this country. Actually, Kenya Kwanza only led in 2 regions. And we moved together. We felt at the time that Baba had won the election, but had actually been denied victory. And that is why we went into those demonstrations, the Azimio demonstrations of 2023. Baba led us into this. And many people might not know this, but he was a very brave man. Even when some of us who are younger than him, felt fear, and sometimes we felt overwhelmed by the tear gas, the bullets, the threats, the killing, the maiming that we saw, the blood we saw on the streets. Baba stayed steady and kept telling us, let's keep moving. There's no other way of doing this. We must confront this evil regime. And that went on until the president called for dialogue. So at that point, when we now went to NADCO, some of us felt we had fallen into a trap. And we felt that President Ruto had actually trapped Baba. For me, that is one point at which I would say I did not completely agree with him. And one thing that Baba had made very clear, we were all very comfortable to express ourselves. He was a Democrat to the heart, and he would allow you to agree or to disagree or to speak your mind, and he would ask. And if you're in a meeting and you didn't speak anything, he'll say, Eugene, you haven't said anything about this. What do you think? Even in terms of when we had threats, and there was one time when we were told there was going to be an assassination, one of us was going to be assassinated and we shouldn't go out. And we met that morning before the demonstrations, and Baba called all of us, called all our security, and he wanted to hear from each one of us. There were those who said, Baba, don't go. You made your point. Don't go beyond this. If they kill you, you're the general. This will be the end of the war. Don't go. And he would ask Eugene, what do you think? And I said, Baba, if we back down now, that is the end of this thing. Let us go. And he would say, I've heard all of you. We are going. Get into the cars.
All said and done, we are going.
We are going. And, he would lead us there. But when it came to the decision to now get into
broad-based,
not broad-based. First, the precursor to broad-based was really NADCO.
Yes.
I felt like we were tricked into some fake dialogue, because William Ruto never really had his heart in this. He wanted to use the dialogue at Bomas, lock us into, remove us from the streets, and cool down the temperatures. So to me, it was really a tranquilizer that Ruto had given us as the opposition to slow us down and to get us off the streets. And once he achieved that, he had no intention of implementing NADCO. He hasn't implemented it up to now. And when Baba asked me about this, I told him, I spoke my mind, and I told him, Baba, I think this is a poison chalice you've taken from this guy. Time will tell. There are my colleagues who disagreed with him. No, Baba is always right. Let's do this. And that is what happened.
Yeah.
And when it came to the end, I had the last chat with him. And I told him, as I told you, Baba, this guy was leading us down the garden path. He wanted us off the streets. And he's not going to implement this thing. The main issue that took us to Mombasa was really cost of living, issues of electoral justice. And Baba had talked about opening of the server. He believed in his heart of hearts they had beaten William Ruto. The 200,000 raised a thin margin by which this president got the presidency was questioned by Baba. He believed he had stolen his victory. So matters electoral justice, IBC, electoral reforms, and key issues were put aside, actually. What did this guy do at Bomas? He sent his team, led by Kimani Ichung'wah, with instructions to stick to the presidential memorandum that he had given Parliament to create the position of Prime Cabinet Secretary, entrench it into the law, create the position of leader of opposition with 2 deputies, and create more women rep positions. And it was about positions, and this was what was political expedient for the political class. But the Wanjiku issues were never addressed at Bomas, and that was the cost of living. This man was doubling VAT on fuel from 8% to 16%. On fuel alone, 1 liter, there were about 16 levies and taxes introduced. This is how, this is where the rain started beating us. So we said, if we're here talking about how Mudavadi is going to be the prime minister, and we put that position in the law, is that why Kenyans went to the streets and died? And we're talking about Raila being given a position of leader of opposition, with maybe Kalonzo or Wamalwa deputizing, and your paid salaries, given government offices and vehicles. Is this why we had 75 young Kenyans slain on the streets? They were fighting against the finance bill 2023. The doubling of VAT on fuel, the introduction of housing levy, and this SHA thing, and all these taxes were taking away the little disposable income anyone had. The pay slip was squeezed to to nothing. That actually one said, please, why don't you take my salary and you give me the taxes? Because there are more than what I'm taking home. I have nothing left in this pay slip. So these were matters we felt very, very strongly that we should have dealt with at Bomas. We missed that opportunity. And I said at that time, Baba, I'm sorry, but I feel like we didn't do justice to the single most important issue, which was cost of living.
Yeah.
But I said, no, but we have also gotten some reforms on IBC. We are also changing this. So just sign. But I said, because my conscience felt like we had not done justice to the main issue, I declined to sign. Out of the 10 members of NADCO, I was the only one who never signed. But this is a conversation I had with him. Yeah. And I told him, they've taken us for a ride, Baba. And I felt we had let Kenyans down. Had we done the right thing at Bomas in 2023,
yeah,
the Gen Zs, 63 young people who died in 2024 would never have died. Because we let William Ruto have his way at Bomas, and he came back in 2024 with a worse finance bill. That's why these Gen Zs died. So I can say that being the Democrat he was a man we believed in. He was a leader. But also there were times when we could agree, or there were times when we could disagree on some issues. And the issue of after the post-election pact with William Ruto is something we do not agree with.
Right.
And as members of Azimio, some of us felt that we had let the people down and taken the wrong direction going into bed with this government that is still killing Gen Zs, that is still overtaxing Kenyans, that is corrupt to the core. So I can say that at that point of him leaving Azimio or the opposition side and joining the broad-based government, we did not agree with him. Martha Karua was the first one to leave Azimio with NADCO. I was the second one with DAP-Kenya. We left, and there are others who have joined us since, and we are forming a new opposition coalition going into the next election, because we are going to take on William Ruto to ensure that he's a one-term president.
The issue of NADCO, the issue of broad-based government, we have been told, we've had that the president called Mheshimiwa Raila to the table, and that's how broad-based was formed. Did the president ever call you? Did the president ever call Honorable Kalonzo, Honorable Martha Karua, or was it a conversation between Raila and the president alone? The
president never engaged the Azimio team. He engaged the Azimio leader, our leader, Raila Odinga. And our leader came and told us after they met in Mombasa with President Ruto and President Obasanjo. Later on, they went to meet President Museveni. And you remember the famous photo of the three gentlemen
with cows,
with Nyankole cows. We never knew this was happening. Actually, just the way you saw the photo is the way the rest of us, saw the photos. Okay. We didn't know about it. But after he came back, he came and met us and he briefed us. And he said, we've agreed to go into this national dialogue to see if we can resolve these issues. Eventually, NADCO went to Parliament, and it's never been implemented up to now.
Right.
In March this year, he entered into now a formal pact, a post-election pact at KICC with the UDA. Up to now, William Ruto has never engaged us. The rest, he only engaged our leader.
Okay.
And when you look at that pact, it was between the two of them. With William Ruto as the party leader of UDA and Raila Odinga as the party leader of ODM. It was about the two parties.
Okay.
So it was not about the coalition and the rest of us. Because some of us disagreed with him. And we thought, really, William Ruto is not going to change. The only way we will change direction is by changing the leadership. And for that, we are prepared. And we're preparing to take him on at the next general election.
When Baba approached you as Azimio leaders and broke the news to you, what was Eugene Wamalwa's response?
My initial response, I told him, Baba, this is a poison chalice. And that was my position to the end until that NADCO process ran its course and we got nothing out of it. And I declined to sign. And I think after that point, he progressed now to the next level of now formalizing their coalition with William Ruto. Of course, at first they kept denying we are not in government, but eventually they said we're in the broad-based government. At his funeral, there were those leaders from his party who said they will stay in the broad-based government, meaning going into the next election, they're going to be our opponents because we are determined to take out William Ruto and all his cronies. So if ODM is on that side, then unlike the last election, we were on the same side. They must be prepared to face us as we are prepared to face them together with William Ruto.
Who is in this opposition coalition currently? Which parties? I know DAP-K is there. PLP of Honorable Martha Karua. Is Wiper also there?
Yes, Wiper is with us, and DCP joined us after the impeachment of
former DP
Gachagua. He joined us. In fact, he formally joined us at the beginning of this year.
Okay.
I invited him on the 27th of January when I was launching our DAP-Kenya headquarters in Karen. That was the first time he now formally joined the opposition after leaving government. And he's been with us throughout, and we're building a big team. Just the way they are broadening their broad-based government, we are also broadening our opposition coalition. And after DCP, we're also joined by the former Attorney General when he was fired as Minister for Public Service, J.B. Muturi. He joined us. The CS for Agriculture, Linturi, also when he was fired, he joined us. We have quite a number of other people who have joined us, and the coalition keeps growing. We are looking at reaching out to people like former Chief Justice Maraga. We're looking at reaching out to Okiom Tata, Senator, who is also a presidential candidate, and reaching out to more people. Those who left Ruto's side and came to our side, we welcome them. They have strengthened our team. Yeah. Those who will find it untenable politically to continue being in ODM, when ODM now formally goes into bed with UDA, or perhaps even if the ODM accepts to be led by William Ruto, because we can see some of them already offering, please come back home. If you come, we can allow you to lead our party and be our presidential candidate. So if because we have young leaders, emerging leaders that Baba has mentored, like Babu Owino, like Edwin Sifuna. We have young leaders, upcoming leaders, Caleb Amisi, Kinotsosi. There are some of these young people who might find it untenable when eventually Ruto walks into the ODM house and takes over. And you know, in the African sense, they say whoever comes out of your mother's house, you must call him Baba.
Yes, indeed. In the partnerships that you're having with all these individuals you've mentioned and all these parties you've mentioned, are there any areas of concern? Because we have been closely following what DCP is all about, the rhetoric, and even allies of the former deputy president. For example, Nyeri governor, yesterday, was it the day before, made some utterances that are not favorable to certain communities in this country. Are those things that actually concern you, or are you letting them run their own shit?
No, they concern us. And if you look at our official X Twitter account, we have already condemned as DAP-Kenya. We do not condone tribal chauvinism. and that talk of that divides the country along tribal lines, along religious lines. These retrogressive politics that we do not accept as DAP-Kenya, and as the leader of DAP-Kenya, I've made my position very, very clear. We will not condone such politics. We would like to see a progressive thinking in terms of our politics, uniting the country, empowering the youth of this nation, and putting them at the center and front of our agenda. This is the kind of conversation we want to have about strengthening devolution, which holds the key to a more equal Kenya, more equitable Kenya, a more inclusive Kenya. This is the direction we want to go. Not issues of my tribe and that tribe, us versus them. I find what Governor Kahiga said very callous, especially at a time when the Odinga family is still in mourning, the nation is still in mourning. It's totally inappropriate and unacceptable.
Right. In regards to what people are saying about the opposition, there seems to be no clear agenda at the moment. Yes, the agenda is unseat President Ruto come 2027, but beyond that, what happens? So we elect Eugene Wamalwa, for instance, as our next president. Then what? That isn't coming out clear as far as the united opposition is concerned.
I think when you look at what bedevils our country and our history as a country, I've seen lately President Ruto really referring to the story of Singapore. And yes, it's true. I mean, at our independence, we had power with Singapore, Malaysia, the so-called, South Korea, the so-called Asian tigers. What really killed the Kenyan dream? I think we had a conference here, was it 1999, the Kenya We Want conference. And I think what came out of that conference was very clear that what stands in the way of the Kenyan dream is really the issue of corruption and tribalism. And if we could deal with this, Kenya can become a Singapore. Kenya can actually realize its dream that has been deferred because of these things. So you cannot talk about Kenya becoming a Singapore without talking about dealing with corruption. You cannot do that. You cannot talk about Kenya becoming a Singapore without dealing with this issue of tribalism, the kind of retrogressive politics we're hearing from Governor Kahiga. These are matters that we need to deal with to be able to realize the Kenyan dream. Because looking at our budget, when you're looking at trillions and whatever, but what really goes, what we lose through corruption, experts tell us about 30% of our national budget. So if you are just able to fix that thing alone, and we have a president, a man or woman of integrity who can fix and deal with and slay the dragon of corruption, you do not have to overtax Kenyans. We can actually restore the dignity of the payslip by just ensuring we deal with corruption and the seepage that we see our resources going through the wastage in government. If we have a president a man or woman who can deal with those issues, we'll be able to fix this country. Now, they're telling us we have no agenda. Our agenda is removing William Ruto. Yes, it is, because William Ruto is the very embodiment of that corruption. I think it was last year when they were doing these assessment of corrupt presidents in the world, and he emerged the second top most corrupt president after Assad of Syria. This was not done by Kenya. It was an international, it was a global ranking, and he ranked highly in that list. This year again, they did the ranking of the richest presidents, not of Africa, in the world. And again, he ranked very highly. Of course, it follows, surely, as day follows night, that if you are the highest in terms of corruption, and with that amount of greed, you're grabbing everything, selling all the family jewels and doing whatever, then it will emerge that in 3 years, you can actually become the richest president in Africa. And this is what has come to pass. So the only way this can be rectified is if we want an end to corruption, then we must end the tenure of this corrupt regime in one term. And these are matters that we must fix.
There's the issue of corruption that you've rightly mentioned. But every president before Uhuru, not Uhuru, but before Ruto, actually dealt with corruption, or rather had corruption in his government. We're talking about President Moi, President Kibaki, President Uhuru, and now President Ruto. How would your government, if allowed, how would you deal with that situation?
First of all, it's about institutions. And I think it's President Obama who said this when he visited Accra, Ghana. And he said, what Africa needs are not strong men, but strong institutions. If we can strengthen our anti-corruption institutions and ensure that we do not tribalize the war on corruption, to say, oh, my people are being targeted. Oh, you must be prepared as president to let institutions work. And to do that, you must be a president who believes in this constitution, who believes in the rule of law, and who can actually let institutions work independently. And you must be ready to let go even your closest allies if they're implicated in corruption, including members of your own family. You must be prepared to bite that bullet and allow institutions to work. Now look at this, the presidents we've had. Mwai Kibaki told his cabinet, if you are found with your hand in the cookie jar, it doesn't matter who you are, you will face the full force of the law. You do recall when we had this Anglo leasing scandal. Do you know one of his closest friends that he made finance minister, David Miraria? Everybody knew this was Kibaki's man. Kibaki had to let him go. He had to let some of his closest, sacrifice them in the war against corruption. When you look at President Uhuru, in fact, Uhuru was the first president to sack almost 5 ministers. Some of them were very close to him. But because he came to parliament and said, no, this must stop. And the following ministers, the following PSs who have been implicated must step aside. And they did. What has this president done? When he came in, he is been actually shielding his cronies. Those who already had cases going, he had those cases dropped. Multi-billion cases. Some had criminal charges, including rape. Some had criminal charges, including murder, who were cleared by this president. So you cannot fight corruption by shielding the corrupt because they are members of your party or your family or your community. We must have a president who will be ready from day one,
right,
to let the law take its course, to let institutions work, and to also look at, as president, I would want to do what some have been trying to fight. In strengthening these institutions, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission have been asking for prosecutorial powers. But you see, when this matter comes to Parliament, a Parliament that this president admitted the other day is one of the most corrupt, they cannot give teeth to that institution. In fact, they would block any attempt to strengthen these institutions. But this war starts from the top. When you're talking about corruption, it's like a fish, it rots from the head. So it starts with the head of state. All deals, mega deals, are actually sealed at State House nowadays. And Dubai has become their bedroom where they form their companies, mobilize their resources, then come and buy some of our national assets. So what we need to do is really look at how to strengthen these institutions. And as president, I will put my foot down to ensure that we give prosecutorial powers to these anti-corruption institutions. And we see how to streamline the way things are done. When you look at the DPP and you look at other institutions, the DCI, how they're working, the tough wars and whatnot, this is also affecting the war against corruption.
Right.
But lastly, I think the most important thing also is to look at how to stop weaponization of the criminal justice system, because this is also equally being, apart from being used to shield the corrupt, it's also being used to target politically those who are not in sync with the system. Yes.
Mheshimiwa, we seem to forget our history sometimes when we speak about the present and the role our history plays into what we now consider the present. There has been no presidential period in this country where we have not had corruption. None.
Yes.
From the time we just begin to figure out how to be corrupt, to the time when we actually understood it, to the time when now it becomes a simple way of life that everybody has accepted. And you're right. The fish does rot from the very head. See, my beef is this. Literally everybody who is in the opposition right now has been in government, some government or the other. Differing seniorities. You have a former vice president who was a minister in very many ministries. You yourself have been a minister. All these individuals, you have a deputy president. All these people have been in government at some point or the other. Now that they find themselves in the opposition, they are champions of corruption, and yet when they were in positions of power, there were corruptions in those governments.
I think you're right in a way. And to me, I look at that positively, because I think it was James Madison who said, if we're a nation of angels, we would not need a government. We are not angels. And we do not expect angels to fly in from heaven or drop like manna from heaven to come and change this country. This country is going to be changed by we, the people who belong to this country. And the yardstick city should be Eugene Wamalwa. You want to be president. You served in this ministry. There was that scandal. You served in the other ministry. There was that. You served in that. You had this case. You had that. You're implicated in corruption. You do not qualify. Because if you are a minister and you are stealing with one hand, the day you are in State House and there's no one above you and all the ministers are, you will steal with both hands.
Right.
So what we would need is really a leader whose record must be subjected to the highest scrutiny before being allowed into that house. And if you're going to get a leader whose record is, replete with scandals, starting with the current president.
Right.
He had just look at his history with Kenya pipeline. He had grabbed this land. He was taken to court, handcuffed, went through that case. So if you try to steal public land, Kenya pipeline land, when you're a minister or you're a member of parliament, when you're president and that cow you try to steal is still available, you still steal it. Now you're not talking about stealing Kenya pipeline land. It's about selling the entire pipeline, the refinery. So what are we talking about? Yes, anyone who has served, anyone who wants to serve in the highest office in this land, they must be prepared to face a brutal scrutiny by Kenyans. And
I'm in agreement with you,
yes.
Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
I am actually in agreement with you.
Yes.
However, the national sport that seems to be championed by you politicians
Yes.
seems to be something that I refer to as the plunder of state coffers. Because if we talk about the money that President Uhuru mentioned was lost on a daily basis,
Yes.
the figure was more or less confirmed by Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. And other bodies have since audited and said it is so. Talk about fighting corruption exists. Even this government has talked about it.
Yes.
And you are right when you say, when you look at from the time they came in, the individuals that were given positions of authority, someone chairman of KRA, and you're thinking, surely of all the people in this country to be given that job, this one. Not that we knew him, but we knew of the cases that the person had.
Yes. So some touching concerning the same KRA.
The same institution, yes.
That you are going to chair.
Case against him. So there are many such cases. But at the heart of it is this popular Kenyan sport called plundering state coffers.
Yes.
Because I do not hear whether it is those of you who refer to yourselves as, what do they call themselves?
United Opposition.
That one. And the other individuals who are now broad-based, no matter how broad they are, I do not hear of a cohesive plan that they have for actually uplifting this country. Because the thing that the plundering tells us is that we have huge resources.
Yes.
Because if I look at the consistency with which these scandals keep coming up, because it's usually a scam to simply take resources. The immediate former government of Uhuru Kenyatta's represents something that perhaps we need to look at when we talk about comparison. Those who are clever at being corrupt and those who are inept. Okay? Because there are those who will bludgeon you with a club on your head and then take what you have. There are those who actually enjoin you in the impoverishment that is facing you, and you actually don't see it, and you actually cheer them as they continue to impoverish you. If you look at the borrowing that this country engaged in, and when I say country, it was borrowed on our behalf during the Uhuru era. God Almighty, from the get-go, they borrowed and borrowed and borrowed and borrowed and borrowed. I said, okay. In the trillions. Now, you ask your question, if they borrowed 6 trillion, and our laws clearly state that that is money that's meant for development, 6 trillion in this economy, my friend, the changes would be profound. The things we'd be seeing around us, all these things that we keep talking about and saying they're a problem. So those who have this discussion around odious debt, in my opinion, have a point to make. Where did this money go to? Now, why am I bringing this thing up? I am saying, when you have a country that has resourceful people like Kenya does, resourceful, hardworking, focused, I do not see any leadership that has a plan to focus all this energy in the direction that makes the country grow. Leaders like you in the opposition spend time telling us about the ills of the government, which we can also see. So that we can't see it. We can see it. We live here. And we suffer the consequences. But an opportunity presents itself now. It really does. Because if the message of change can actually permeate the minds of the people of this country, and they can believe that the unit that you people have can actually bring about change. I say this because I look at President William Ruto's campaign. That man promised change. And it was believable change. That man even told us what the problem was. Now that we see he has aligned himself to this very same group of people whom he said was a problem, I don't know whether he sees the irony. He has essentially told us he has become part of the problem. I don't see whether he sees the irony. But I'm saying this, if you as the opposition and as political leaders, when you go through your caucuses and you chit-chat, do you really discuss what it is you need to do in all sincerity? Because many of the people who are in your party are in the opposition because they've lost jobs, as far as I'm concerned. Yes. And when they had those jobs, there's nothing remarkable that I could say they did that pointed to me, that tells me that these are change agents. They are not. They are reactionary people who like the status quo. So in power, I do not see change coming from them, but your group has welcomed them.
I think I'll go back to what I said, that the fact that we have leaders who have served and who have a track record that can be measured against others is a very good thing for the country. So that whoever is going to go into that house on the hill there must be subject to that scrutiny, and there must be a yardstick of integrity. And if we can put integrity on the ballot this time round, I think we can get the right leadership, because we must start from the top in terms of fixing the rot in the current regime.
Yeah.
And if you get in there someone who already has that record of plundering, of corruption, they would only do what they know best. With more power, there will be more stealing and more plundering than there has ever been. So I think for us, we want to be very, very clear that we are prepared, and we are bringing together a team that is ready to right some of these wrongs. And it starts with policy changes. Some policies, like CT has said, you know what this guy was promising and what he has done. Those hustlers, the majority of Kenyans at the bottom of the pyramid, are the ones facing actually the brunt of those harsh taxes that he has introduced. You touch on fuel, that border out there that you had said you bring him from the bottom upwards. You left him down there. What when bottom up was the price of fuel, when you doubled VAT on fuel, when you went into a G2G deal that locked in the country with some fellows out there. And in December you extended, so that even if global crude oil prices drop, Kenyans will still not benefit from that because of the policy decisions that were made. When you come and tell Kenyans, to fix this cost of living, we've taken 16 billion and we are going now to import this commodity, so that then you end up actually just giving the money, sharing the money with the cronies that never brought whatever they had promised to, and prices never went down. And all these things, whatever you're looking at, is a scandal after scandal after scandal. The only way this can be fixed is by changing the leadership, starting with putting in place a leadership of integrity that can address these issues.
Mheshimiwa, there's a question here from one of our viewers. They're asking two questions actually. The first one is the Ministry of Defense lack of equipment issue. Did he leave the KDF with no equipment? What is this viewer alluding to?
I think in terms of equipment, our military is one of the best equipped and one of the most professional militaries, not just in Africa, in the world. And of course, we just like an arrow, you must continue sharpening the arrowhead. So you must continue investing in better equipment and better training, over men and women in uniform, so that you stay ahead in terms of technology, in terms of training. That needs to be sharpened. Of course, there are some aging platforms that need to be replaced and whatnot. But as we speak right now, I mean, we were talking about this the other day, looking at the state of the economy. And when you look at some of the purchases that are underway, we are talking of new aircrafts, new jets, and whatever. You're talking of almost 70 billion being put into this, when the soldiers are being denied lunch. You're saying you do not have enough money to feed them. And this is something that has been going on for years. It's the first time a soldier is going to be told, pay as you eat. But this same soldier who goes out there to make us safe in Kismayu and other dangerous areas are not being told, pay as you fight. So there are some things that are happening. You look at how they are splashing money in the so-called empowerment programs. These are basically handouts to bribe people. Delegations from each county coming and being given 10,000 each. You bring 10,000 teachers and spend 100 million giving each 10,000. And you say you're empowering them? How? But where is all this money coming from that you are sending Kindiki, sending a Speaker Wetangula, a Prime Cabinet Secretary, with gunias of money to take to that women group, take to that youth group? Where is that money coming from? And you are saying you do not have enough money for capitation, for our children's education, for health. And these are critical areas. So we're saying this call for policy changes. The team we have put together from day one, these are not leaders who are going to learn on the job. So there are advantages and disadvantages, like you have said.
Yeah.
But the advantages outweigh the disadvantages in terms of a seasoned team that will come and say, in education, the mess in education, we were there with Kibaki. This is what we did. We can do it again.
Okay.
In health, we're there with Uhuru when we had Linda Mama, and all Kenyan women, whether you are the wife of a border or a teacher or a soldier, you are treated equally to bring life in dignity. Then you come, remove Linda Mama, bring some things that are not working. I have an example of Mumias. I just came from Malava. The people of Kakamega city are crying. They're saying, we've had St. Mary's Mission Hospital for 100 years, from the colonial regime to the Jomo Kenyatta, to the Moi 24 years, to Kibaki, to Uhuru. This 100-year hospital has never failed to serve. Until you come make changes, bring some change this hospital has collapsed. So what we are saying, these are policy changes that from day one we can fix in terms of reversal of the failed policies in the health sector, in education. And there are many things that can be done that we are prepared from day one, and we have agreed, whether it is Wamalwa or it will be Kalonzo or Karua or Matiang'i or whoever will be the president. From day one, executive order number 1, this housing levy must go. These thing, these are policy changes. In fact, the harder part for me would not be, because we know what needs to be done. The harder part would be now fixing Kenya's image regionally and internationally. What we have done in DRC, what we are doing in the Sudan, with RFS, what we are doing with the M23, and the situation we have created in terms of Nairobi having been the stabilizer of this region. We have actually become the destabilizer of this region. So in terms of foreign policy, to me, city, this will be the hardest part to restore that image of Kenya regionally and internationally as the anchor state in the Horn of Africa region and on other international platforms.
Mheshimiwa, how much power does a minister actually have? I'm saying this because regarding that question.
Yes.
You are the minister, but there was a minister before you. There's another minister before you.
There was a minister after him.
Yes, you came into a situation and found it as it is.
Yes.
I'm asking a direct question. How much power does a minister have? Because
you have as much power as the president allows you. I can tell you, under President Kibaki, when Kibaki gave you a ministry city, you'd run that. You'd be a full minister. And Kibaki would never micromanage or follow you to tell you do this, or interfere. I worked with Uhuru. When Uhuru would give you a ministry, you would run that ministry. You would bring, and Uhuru would tell you, this is a good policy. Eugene, I like this, but this, you know what is happening now is really, and I've heard President Ruto himself say, people say he's a micromanager, and they say that's not a bad thing. Because sometimes you have a minister you've given a ministry, and you know more about that ministry than that person does.
Well, you know about the person you're given the job to begin with. So telling us that this person is not fit for the job, why on earth did you give him the job in the first place?
Exactly. And the same parliament that is supposed to vet and give us quality ministers, they're just rubber stamps. They've been told, we want those names cleared within the next 1 week. And
you know, Mheshimiwa Eugene Wamalwa, there are issues and there are issues. The example that is set by progressive presidents and political leadership, unfortunately, especially with regards to how they disregard the law, you know, it trickles down. You mentioned the border.
Yes.
Have you seen how those people behave? They have no regard whatsoever.
Yes.
They crisscross when they like, they move in the direction that they see fit, and woe betide if one of them hit your car. Not you. One of them hits your car. Yes. Suddenly there are 40 of them, and those want to rob you. It's absolute mayhem. Just as the fish rots from the very top, the examples that we have, good or bad, are set from the top. President Uhuru began this culture of ignoring court orders. Moi didn't need to, because there were no court orders that he could ignore. After all, he appointed the judges himself. Kenyatta the same. Kibaki is the one who now started instituting the sort of administrative realities that brought about accountability. Uhuru ignored court orders. It seems like he just ignored court orders. The ramifications have been dire. Court says, appoint these 41 judges, says, over my dead body. End of that story. The something called Kenya Meat Commission. You decide this one, let's transfer it. I am not saying that some good did not come out of it. I'm saying it was a court order. Miguna, the court says this guy should not be deported. That guy is deported. I'm simply saying we forget about these things, but the next government comes in and they follow that same trajectory. So it's like with every leadership, we are heading more and more and more towards the direction of lawlessness. Where somebody can just appoint someone, there will be protests, but they will appoint the person. And you're thinking, now with this person here, how on earth are we going to get anything done? And in the Uhuru era, it played out when you saw how the head of DCI and the DPP and that constant conflict. It has been carried on to this particular government. What am I saying? I'm saying those who are in the opposition like you, Mheshimiwa, surely, beyond telling us what this government hasn't done and what previous governments haven't done, okay, that's happened. What can we look forward to that is meaningful, that you can say, this one actually seems to make sense and it is doable? Because this narrative of getting rid of the president, that one doesn't make sense to me. Because the then what and what after, I don't hear. Mbuvi, do you hear it?
Well, we asked him, and he did say that once they make President Ruto a one-term president, there are certain things that they will deliver on.
Policy reversals, that's where we start. And have new policy, because it is, you know, City, it's politics about policy. And I remember I once went to Oxford University. We had a conference of water ministers, and there's a professor there who said, you know, policy, I mean, science without policy is still science. You can't change it. But policy without science, without research, is gambling. So when we have half-baked policies that you're trying this, in the middle of it, you realize it's not working, you do an about turn, go back to that. It's really gambling. With some of the policies we're seeing in the education sector, in the health sector, you find NHIF that was working, that could have been improved on at a lesser cost. But because there's the deal there, with someone who is offering, who said with 104 billion, we can change this. You go to JKI, you're looking at 238 billion. Ketraco, we have 195 billion. So your changes are based on, you know, a very transactional government based on deals that you're going to make rather than the national good. Now, where we have reached, it's really a matter of policy, getting the right policies in the right place, and we'll see things change. A policy like the policy shift we had in, you know, the devolution policy that came with a new constitution. It is something that has changed the country. If you went to Mandera, Wajir, 20 years ago, you could not find a CT scan. You could not find a dialysis machine. Do you know people had to travel 1,000 kilometers all the way from Mandera to Kenyatta National Hospital just for a dialysis? Come and stay with your relatives here in Isili, do your dialysis twice a month, go back to Mandera. With devolution, because we made a policy shift from a centralized system of governance to a decentralized, a devolved system. You go and find for the first time a tarmac road in Wajir, 50 years, people born and raised in, had never seen a tarmac road. You want to see a tarmac, you come to Nairobi. But because of the policy shift, we are creating a more equitable country, a more inclusive country, and it takes just that shift, and lives change.
Mheshimiwa, we are out of time, but before I let you go, this last question, which has been repeated several times. You attended the funeral of the late Raila Amolo Odinga, and people appreciated it. What do you take on the fact that the former DP, that is Gachagua, didn't attend the burial?
The people mourn in different ways. They might have mourned with the family in a different way. Being present does not really make you a better mourner than anyone who is not present. But that is for him. I think for me and my family, we had long relations with the Odinga family, right from the days of my late brother Mike and Raila when they were at the university as lecturers, and from Fort Kenya up to NAC. We had a long relationship. And to me, I would say that the loss of Raila is really a big blow. to our democracy, to devolution. We've seen those people who tear gassed him, those people who called him Muganga, who called him Mzee Vitendawili, who brutalized him in life. Come to shed crocodile tears and give the best speeches. And you can see those who aimed bullets at him in the Mathare Valley and almost killed him, release bulletins of praise and give him awards posthumously. To me, really, that is not the way to honor this hero. If we're to truly honor Raila Odinga, we must honor what he stood for: freedom. He fought for freedom. He left us a book, The Flame of Freedom, that flame that burned in his heart, even when he was in the cells, when he was detained, is really what we must honor him by. And you cannot, an hour, no, actually 3 hours, because I listened to President Ruto say he got news of the of the death of Raila at about 7 a.m. in the morning. Then you see him 3-4 hours later on signing bills, very calmly. He didn't look very sad. As he was signing those, he knew Raila was dead. And one of the 8 bills that he signed was the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Amendment Bill. When you look at that law, the timing of it, it came soon after the Gen Z revolution. The revolution was in June. This bill was introduced in August. It was told we must create some legislation to control these Gen Zs and to control social media platforms. And to do so in this digital age is really shrinking the democratic space that Raila Odinga fought for. For this, as DAP-Kenya and the united opposition with civil society and all Kenyans of goodwill, we are going to challenge it. But the tragedy of, or the irony of it all, was him signing it the same day Raila died, hours after his death, and going to mourn and praise him in Bondo, when you're killing the very freedom that this freedom fighter fought for. The other issue is the issue of devolution. Today, you are splashing money on, it's a government that has its priorities bottom up, really. And you are not able to, give resources, enough resources for the education of our children, for health, to our counties. Do you know we have families that have gone 4 months without pay in our counties? We are unable to pay workers of counties.
Yes.
So how are we going to get services if we're not paying these workers? But we were saying we don't have enough money for devolution. But here we are. We have money to splash around in handouts, in terms of gifts and empowerments. So I think we want to say we have a government that has its priorities completely upside down.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much. I wish we had more time.
Yes.
But we invite you again.
Thank you.
Let's continue this conversation.
Thank you very much.